The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Deininger with Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and I'm here with Jack Degraw talking Yankees baseball. How you doing, Jack?
Good. How are you, Robert?
I'm not too bad. Trying to enjoy this baseball season, but it's been hectic, especially with the postponements. The Yankees haven't played in a while, and when they do, they seem to be losing lately. They got swept by the Rays, which knocked them out of first, and they just got beat in a doubleheader by the Braves yesterday.
Yeah, it hasn't been too much fun. I mean, they've only played like 4 times in 11 days, and when they do play, it's very frustrating to watch.
Yeah. Right now, the Rays are 21-11, and the Yankees are 16-11. So technically, the Yankees are only 2.5 games back, but they've lost 5 in a row, and I think a third of their starting lineup is on the IL.
Yeah, the injury bug continues from last season, and there doesn't seem to be any end in sight. And I don't know what I think these guys just overtrain too much, and it's one thing getting hurt playing baseball. You get hit with a ball, you try to break up a double play. But when you get hurt running the bases, I mean, there's a problem there, and I think it might just be overtraining.
Yeah, and Aaron Judge yesterday was his first game back after straining his calf, and he kept saying he's 100%. He didn't want to go on the IL to begin with, but his first game back in the 4th inning, running to second on a grounder, he winds up straining the same calf again. And they were talking he might be on the IL again. I haven't been paying attention to the news today, so I don't know if they made it official, but more than likely they're going to put him back on the IL.
Now, I didn't see it, Robert. Did he slide and try to break up a double play, or did he get hurt running halfway there? I didn't see how he got hurt.
Yeah, he slid into second base, but they said he pulled it halfway between first and second. He strained it halfway. And he stayed in the game for a couple more innings, and Boone wound up taking him out in the 6th.
And there's no word how long he'll be out?
No, not yet. Boone said there could be a chance he could go back on the IL. It depends. The Yankees really need his bat, so if he can make a go of it, maybe he can avoid going on the IL. But if it's even bothering him a little bit, knowing the Yankees, they'll put him back on the IL.
Yeah, because if you don't, even if you DH him, then he winds up getting hurt again, and then you get Stanton back whenever he comes back. So, I mean,
yeah, I
don't know. It gets frustrating, all these. I mean, how can you give Judge a long-term contract?
That's what I put out a poll on Twitter today. Do you sign Aaron Judge to a long-term contract, which will probably be massive, or do you trade him while he still could bring in a nice haul? Because, I mean, you're stuck with Stanton for another 8 years, and Stanton, I think, hasn't played a full season in his career. Maybe he did one season, but he misses time all the time. And Judge, so far, he's proven that every year he misses games, and it's not a few games. It's multiple games throughout a season.
And then, you got Hicks. You got him like he has a long-term deal, and he gets hurt a lot. So, you're going to have to think how many years you want to give Aaron Judge. I mean, you want to give him a 6-8 year contract, and maybe if he signed for 2 or 3 with some options in, you might consider that. But I wouldn't go 6 or 8 years with him when he gets hurt. He gets hurt all the time. Yeah,
because I mean, they gave Hicks that 7-year, $140 million contract, and in his Yankee career, he averages about 100 games a season. So he misses a good portion of the year, almost every year, Hicks, with injuries. And now you got Stanton, who's proven in his 3 years with the Yankees too. I mean, he missed one full season, and which was last year. did he miss 2 full seasons with the Yankees, or is it just that 1 full season?
Yeah, it was just last season. He missed most of the season.
Okay. But he's proven throughout his career, even with Miami, he's someone who's always hurt throughout the year. It's just you'll have 3 outfielders who are injury prone.
Yeah, then you got another decision coming up. I mean, you got Sanchez, and you got Gleyber Torres. He'll want some money, and so there's a lot of things to consider.
Yeah, and also Tanaka's a free agent after this year, along with James Paxton. And you got 2 of your big time pitchers who are going to be free agents. I don't see them bringing them both back. So they definitely have some decisions to make going forward.
And then I was hearing some rumors, they were interested in a few pitchers. I think this Clevenger guy from the Indians, and there was talk of maybe, Frazier, Andujar, and some other players. But I mean, if you're going to trade Frazier and Andujar, I wouldn't trade them both. Maybe one of them, but not both of them. I
know they were interested in some guy Walker from the Blue Jays, but he was traded to another team. I forget which team picked him up today. But the Yankees are looking to add another starter to their roster, so it'll be interesting to see what moves that Brian Cashman makes. But just watching it, like Aaron Hicks is the guy who's been bothering me for a while now. I mean, everyone, these kids today, this generation with the analytics, they consider. I literally had an argument with someone telling me he's a top 5 center fielder in Major League Baseball, and I'm just like, I told him, no way. And even though Aaron Hicks does a good job getting on base, he has a .344 on base percentage. He's batting under 200, and he's got more strikeouts than runs scored. So he's getting on base, but no one's driving him in, and he's not helping the team, with his bat. He's not helping them drive in any runs. And when you're paying your center fielder $20 million, you expect a little production from him from the plate. It's nice that he gets on base, but you're not helping the team if you can't hit.
Well, another thing, I mean, the importance, you want men on base, but the thing is, when you have as many injuries as the Yankees have, and the guys aren't producing like Sanchez and, Torres is hurt, Judge is hurt, you want Hicks to step up and knock in some runs.
Yeah, especially when you're paying him $20 million a year.
Yeah, and I mean, the guys behind him, Sanchez, he's not, hitting worth a damn, and, you want Hicks to, hit some homers and knock in some runs. More importantly, produce, knock in some runs. Step up.
And the thing is, with the analytics today, a lot of these players, if you hit 250 and you have a nice high on base percentage, once you get to the playoffs, now you're facing teams that not only have an ace, but a number 2 and a solid number 3 starter. So you're not facing a lot of these pitchers who are below average during the regular season. So that on base percentage that was high during the regular season isn't worth a damn in the postseason when you're facing good pitching. At some point, you do need hitters on your team. And,
go ahead, Robert.
And the Yankees' best hitters right now are on the IL, and LeMahieu and Torres and Judge, who appears could be heading back to the IL.
Well, I mean, if you look at just the playoff the Yankees been in, and this has been going on for 20 years and stuff. They'll play great during the season. You'll win over 100 games, but you get in the playoffs, and you're not facing second line pitching anymore. If you get just power hitters, you struggle.
Yeah. And
go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. I mean, you saw it, in a few of the series the Yankees been in the last few years. When they faced tough hitting, they struggled to score unless they were playing at home with their crowd. And this year, there's no crowds in the stands.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things, this is just, they've only played X amount of games. They're not playing many games. But you take a team like the Rays. The Rays don't get a lot of hits, and they don't have high batting averages, but they hit well in clutch situations. They seem to, be able to, just when they have to, they knock in runs. And this has been going on for a couple of years with this team because they don't have high-priced talent, but these guys hitting good. They're good situational hitters, and something the Yankees haven't really been good situational hitters for going on 20 seasons for the most part.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of the Yankees hitters. I mean, like Gleyber Torres is, I love him, but sometimes he gets home run happy, and when he gets home run happy is when he starts struggling. And then you got guys like Stanton and Hicks, and Gardy who swings for the fences. Now, a lot of these players today, they're trying to swing for the fences instead of just trying to make solid contact and put the ball in play.
Yeah, because, it used to be Yankee Stadium was tough to hit in.
Yeah.
But now it's like the ball can fly out, left, center, and right. So a lot of these guys are, they're swinging from the ass nowadays, and they just want to, hit home runs. And, when you see righties hitting the ball the opposite field, lefty the opposite field home runs, it's like, the hitting aspect is gone. They're all swinging for the fences.
Yeah, and, I'm still a believer that Andujar could be a good player, a really good player. And, Gio Urshela, I didn't think he was going to I've been saying this since the season ended last year. I don't think he was going to repeat what he did last year. And he's had his moments in a couple of games this year, but he's struggling. He's not really been hitting lately, and his average has taken a dip under 240. And, he plays great defense, but, when your best players are on the IL, someone like Andujar, I think you should find a way to get him in the lineup, and not just for one game, but put him in there for 3, 4, 5 games, give him some at-bats to get into the groove of things.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the Yankees having so many, good players, a guy like that gets lost in the shuffle. And I think it's a discredit to him, or not to him. It just hurts him that he's in this situation, and really you're hurting the guy's career. Hopefully after this season they'll make some decisions, or even at the trading deadline. Are you going to keep Andujar? Are you going to keep Frazier? And if you're going to keep these guys, play them.
Yeah.
Or trade one of them.
That's the other thing. Frazier, I'd like to see him up, and they have him batting like somewhere around 6th, 7th in the lineup. I'd rather see him up a little bit more, But he's cooled off since he's been back. He's cooled off a little bit, but also the games have been, you play a series and then you don't play for 3-4 days. It's tough to stay in a groove.
Yeah, that's the bad thing. You really can't get in a groove because, with everything going on, you really don't even know when you're going to play.
Yeah. And I will say one thing, Luke Voigt continues to impress me. He's I think he leads the Yankees in home runs with 11, and he's driven in over 20 runs, and he's batting around 300. He's getting on base. His on-base percentage is over 370. So, he's the one guy in the lineup right now that you can count on to drive in some runs. And right now they're struggling to score runs. And they got a doubleheader tomorrow against the Mets. Then they play one game on Saturday, and then another doubleheader against the Mets on Sunday. So they play 5 games in 3 days starting tomorrow.
Yeah, and like we're talking, getting back to Voigt, he looked like, he lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, he's
still a big guy, but he doesn't seem to be as muscle bound as he used to be. And, he's been able to stay
like
healthy.
20 pounds. Yeah. And I thought Montgomery was going to start tomorrow against the Mets in the first game, but I see here they have Happ starting the first game. They don't have anyone penciled in for the second game. There's talk that maybe someone like Clark Schmidt might be brought up to pitch one of these games in the doubleheader, either tomorrow or Sunday.
Yeah, I think if you look throughout baseball, there's been so many pitchers hurt.
Yeah, I think they said 98 so far.
And, you know, they talk about spring training being long, and granted it is, but, you know, maybe these guys need 6 weeks to get ready. You know, they only had maybe 3 weeks to get ready, and a lot of pitchers are going down. And I think, you know, Major League Baseball should think about expanding the rosters.
Yeah.
You know, maybe to 32 players, and because, you know, a lot of these teams have missed games and they got to have double headers, and, you're putting like pitchers' careers in jeopardy and stuff. So, you know, maybe they should think about upping the roster to maybe 32 players.
Yeah, James Paxton talked about that, how important spring training is. He says, you know, it gives you time to ramp up before the regular season. He says, you know, with this season, you know, you had summer camp, which wasn't that long, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're in the season, you know. And he's one of those pitchers, though. He's a notoriously slow starter anyway. But, you know, I think he is right. A lot of these pitchers do need that spring training to ramp up for the regular season.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure, you know, when the time spring training got, canceled in the mid-March until they started playing games July 23rd, I mean, I'm sure they were throwing, but you're not pitching the batters, and you're not in the game situations. So maybe your arm could be in decent shape and good shape, but, you know, you're not trying to get people out.
Yeah, that adrenaline's not the same, you know.
Yeah, you're basically, you know, you're throwing a bullpen, but, you know, you're not facing hitters, so you don't have the stress of being in the game, you know, and the challenge of being in the game. So you could be in shape your arm, but you're not, you know, making pitches, you know, to get out of jams, and you don't have, the game situation.
Yeah, I will say yesterday, watching the Yankees, Garrett Cole in the first game, he gave up 4 runs on 3 home runs. 2 of the home runs were tape measure jobs. Acuna, I think, hit one over 470 feet. But he pitched 5 innings, threw over 90 pitches, gave up 4 runs. Tanaka in Game 2 was literally cruising. He pitched 5 shutout innings, only gave up 3 hits, didn't walk a batter, and struck out 4. And Boone pulled him after five innings. And after the game, Boone said Tanaka emptied the tank. And when they talked to Tanaka, he basically said the same thing line for line that Boone said, that he emptied the tank. And if you were watching the game, he was not gassed. That was Tanaka towing the company line, backing up his manager. Boone doesn't like his pitchers to face the lineup for a third time because the numbers say the batting average again goes up. So even though Tanaka was cruising, I mean, the only inning he had any trouble was the 3rd inning, where he gave up a couple base runners, but that was it. In the 4th inning, he retired them in order. They only made soft contact. In the 5th inning, he retired them in order, striking out 2. And he was in one of those grooves where he could have easily gone 6, 7, maybe 8 innings. You know, on Boone, though, the numbers say that the batting average goes up to 311 against Tanaka the 3rd time through the order, and the slugging percentage is high. So he decided to bring Chad Green in, who hadn't pitched in over 2 weeks, and he winds up giving up a single, then a 2-run homer to Freddie Freeman, which cost the Yankees the game. And, you know, he was using the line that Tanaka was gassed that he had emptied the tank, but that wasn't the case. I can't stand this analytical error. It's stuff like that gets to me when your starting pitcher is cruising and you pull him. You know, it seems like Garrett Cole has free range to pitch over 90 pitches regardless, and every other pitcher in the rotation, once he gets the 3rd time through the lineup, boom goes to the bullpen.
Yeah, like I say, Robert, you know, we're talking off air. I didn't see the game.
Yeah.
But I did read the quote today. Well, Tanaka mentioned, you know, he had to make some quality pitches. He was in trouble. But, like, you've seen the game, so what you're telling me, you know, he was just cruising.
Yeah.
When I seen the quote, it sounded like, well, there was men on base, all 5 innings. But what you're saying, that's not the case.
No, and Tanaka after the game said Boone came up to him, and he basically said that he's the tank's getting low, and it's your call. But watching the game, Tanaka, he was cruising. He retired, like I said, retired retired them in order in the 4th, then again in the 5th, where he struck out 2 of the 4 hitters he struck out for the game, and he only threw 66 pitches. He was in one of those games where he could have pitched 6, 7, 8 innings. He was in that type of groove.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging like 13 pitches an inning.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see if you send him out for the 6th and he gives up a single and then maybe a walk and a couple base runners get on, then I could see you maybe going to the bullpen, but at least give him the opportunity to go out there to start the inning, But, as good as Chad Green has been this year, when someone like him hasn't pitched in like 2 weeks, you're going to expect a little bit of rust, and I think that's what happened. He just didn't have his best stuff. And it was a game where they were only playing 7 innings. If you put Tanaka out there for the 6th, then maybe they can, the 7th, they can go to Chapman. But Chapman hasn't had a chance to play yet because the Yankees have lost 5 in a row.
It's crazy, too, and now with all this analytics, even when they bring in a relief pitcher, a lot of times relief pitchers don't want to come in, they want to start the inning.
Yeah.
They don't want to come in with a man on first or, it's crazy how just everything is, everything is by a book. Like what you see doesn't mean anything. It's just like we're going to do everything what the book says. Analytics.
Yeah. I mean, and it drives me crazy because, I played sports growing up competitively. I was real competitive. And when you see your starting pitcher in a groove, and because the numbers say that the batting average against them goes up the 3rd time through, as well as the slugging percentage, you're right. It's like the manager's is playing safe instead of trusting what his eyes are telling him. It drives me crazy. Yeah,
I think it's unfortunately, I don't think it's going to change.
No, it's just
What do you think of the 7-inning games, Robert?
Sorry about that. My cell phone got stuck.
What do you think of the 7-inning doubleheaders?
I can see why they're doing them. They kind of have to, I guess, in a way, but I'm not a big fan of it. Those 2 extra innings really, really can help, especially if your team's losing.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, I can see why they do it, and the only way I can see them keeping that rule if they had you have doubleheaders on Sunday, and then you could have Monday off and stuff.
Yeah. But
that's never going to happen because they'll lose a gate. The owners don't want to lose a gate. So
yeah. And the Yankees, one of their strongest features was their bullpen coming into this year, and now with Tommy Canale gone for the year, and now Zach Britton with the hamstring, there's no telling how long that could take to heal. So the Yankees are without 2 of their big pieces in their bullpen. So, I mean, you kind of want to see your starters go 5 innings, 6 innings if they can, not to put so much pressure on their bullpen now.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know how Chapman's
steps up. Yeah.
I mean, Chapman hasn't even been in a game yet.
No, I don't even know what he looks like yet, I'm sure his fastball is good, but I mean, how hard is he throwing? How's his accuracy? I mean, it'd be, I can't wait to see him pitch. I'm sure, hopefully, we see him against the Mets. If we don't, that just means we've lost 5 games. Yeah,
and I mean, by the end of Saturday, half the season's done.
Yeah, and Stanton, on the injury front, he hurt he strained his calf before Judge, and he still is yet to start running. I know he's taking batting practice and throwing, but he hasn't started running yet. So I mean, if that's the case, I mean, it could be a while before we see him back.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be like what happened last season. You get Stanton and Judge back. Well, where are you going to play? You can't. And if Judge is not 100%, what are you going to do? You mean you can't? Stanton's not going to play the outfield, and Judge if he's hurt, then you can't. They both can't DH. So you have, it's almost like you're the same players.
And Torres, I think he tweaked his hamstring, but you hope he can come back quick and not have any problems, going forward. But we got some major players out, but DJ LeMahieu, they said, could be back real soon. He's already hitting, taking batting practice and throwing the ball, and he's out with just a sprained thumb. So hopefully we'll have him back soon.
Yeah, with Gleyber Torres playing short, he has to make a lot of quick movements.
Yeah.
So if he's not 100%, the chances of him, getting hurt again are pretty high.
Yeah, and with Paxton going down and Happ not really looking that great so far, Jordan Montgomery becomes all that more important along with Tanaka. Those guys, got to get length out of them, to protect the bullpen and to keep the guys in the game, because I think we're going to be without some of our major players for a little bit.
Well, I think we're going to see Clark Schmidt come up, and Michael King, and maybe you'll see Debbie Garcia too. Yeah,
they mentioned Debbie Garcia that both him and Schmidt are a possibility to pitch this weekend. I definitely think we'll see either Schmidt or Garcia pitch one of those games, and I would think maybe Michael King, maybe another one, or maybe they go with an opener or something.
Because the thing is, when you only have the 7-inning games, I mean, if these guys can start and give you 3 or 4 innings, that's a big help.
Yeah, and I tell you, I was really impressed with Clark Schmidt, and not only in spring training, but also in that little summer camp they had. I mean, his presence on the mound, he just looks like a guy who's been there and belongs there. And I thought he pitched a little bit better than Michael King, but Michael King was the one they had on the major league roster to start the season. But I think if Clark Schmidt gets his opportunity to pitch, I think he could make the most of it.
Yeah, well, I think we'll see him in one of those games this weekend because they got a lot of games to make up.
Yeah, and with the guys out, going back to the lineup and analytics, I think they got to keep Talkman in the lineup, especially over Gardner. I mean, I love Gardner. He's a team leader. He's the elder statesman, but he's just not the same hitter he once was. I mean, last year he had career highs in homers and RBIs, but that was because he was swinging for the fences last year. And this year is the same thing. It just looks like he's trying to swing for the fences, and not only is it affecting him at the plate, but he's not even getting on base. His on-base percentage is under 300, so he's not even getting on base.
Yeah, I mean, they don't need another guy swinging for the fences. One of the things about Gardy, at least, he had speed and he used to get on base a lot by walks. But now if he's going for home runs and you have all these, basically the Yankees have a lot of hitters who all do the same thing.
Yeah.
The exception being LeMahieu and, Talkman. But, most of these other guys, they just swing for the fences all the time. It's either a home run or a strikeout. And, it's hard to win games consistently playing that way.
Yeah, and, with the way the Rays are playing, the Yankees got to kind of keep pace with them until they get healthy, because otherwise the Rays might start putting a little distance between them and the Yankees.
Yeah, that's that's a big possibility. But the thing is, the way the playoffs are set up.
Yeah.
Of course you want to finish first, but I mean, really, does it make any difference if you win 45 games, 35 games? It's like, you get into a short series, and you could advance or be out of it fairly quickly.
Yeah. But I tell you, I mean, I get into these arguments with these analytic kids, and they actually, I had one tell me batting average doesn't matter, and it blows my mind. Like, how can you say batting average doesn't matter? Because batting average to me is an indication of whether or not a player is a good hitter or not. I mean, getting on base is fine, but you do need guys that can hit, and that's my point with the analytics is, great if a guy can draw a walk, but if no one's around to drive him in, then what good is he? So I hate it that they say the only statistic that matters is RBIs because that's a team stat, and it just drives me crazy.
Well, one of the things with all these stats and these analytics, I mean, if you actually watch all the games and you know how somebody's playing.
Yeah.
When do they get hits? When do they get on base? Did they move the runner up, or they hit a fly ball? And so, I mean, a lot of times the stats are misleading. I mean, you could have 5 RBIs in one game, and you could win 11-0, and then in the 2-1 games, you're 0 for 10 with 6 strikeouts. So it looks like you had a good series, but in actuality, you had one great game and 2 terrible ones.
Yeah, I mean, in this generation today, they care more about how hard you hit the ball, regardless if it's an out. Yeah, to them, how hard do they hit the ball? What's their own? They don't care about their batting average, their home runs, or their RBIs, because RBIs are a team stat, not an individual stat. And basically, to me, growing up, all stats are individual and team. It drives me crazy.
Well, RBIs, I mean, it's a player's stats. It's the batter's stat. He's getting a hit with men in scoring position.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're individual players and a team sport. But if they're not performing, certain guys, I mean, RBIs is how a guy hits with men in base. Knocking and run. I mean, it might be the most important, offensively in the game. That run scores. And
one of the Yankees' problems the last several years, has been their average with runners in scoring position. They've been one of the teams that have struggled with runners in scoring position. Like, just going against the Rays this last series they played where they got swept. They were hideous with runners in scoring position, whereas the Rays took advantage of runners in scoring position.
And the thing is, Robert, like I keep saying, that's been going on for 20 years with the Yankees.
Yeah.
They'll have the bases loaded, no outs, and they won't score.
Yeah.
And then the next inning, they'll hit two home runs, with a walk in between. So, they'll score runs, but like we keep saying, when you get into big games against big-time pitching, that's not always going to happen.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that I got to watch the Yankees dynasty in the 90s, because those were really good teams, 1 through 9. I mean, just all around great hitters. They grinded away at bats. I mean, anyone could win. Anyone could step up any given night. It was a complete team, 1 through 9, along with their pitching staff.
Yeah, I mean, they just had the tendency, they got clutch hits. I mean, you didn't get guys, you didn't have 3 or 4 or 5 guys who hit 30-plus homers, but you had guys, they'd get into a situation where they had, you wanted a single or a double, they could do that. They would, go the opposite way and just, not try to drive everything out of the park. Now it just seems like you got guys, they put up great stats, and getting back to the analytics, Robert, a lot of these kids nowadays, they play these, these maybe they're video games or they're retro leagues. I don't even know what the heck they are.
Yeah.
And that's what they go by, you know.
Yeah.
The stats.
Yeah.
So
If, you know, and the launch angle, I mean, you got players now trying to hit home runs. You know, like Don Mattingly said, you know, if you just look to make hard contact, the home runs will come. You know, it's why I hate to see players like Gardner, you know, towards the end of his career to try to hang around. He's trying to hit home runs. And it's worked for him the last few years, you know, because his home runs have gone up, his RBIs have gone up, but his batting average has gone down. And his on-base percentage has slowly gone down.
Yeah, and one of the things about Gary, I mean, he's been a good player, but one of the things like in 2009 when they won the World Series, he was like, he gave him an extra dimension.
Yeah.
You know, he could steal a base. He'd get on base like him and Johnny Damon. You know, they would steal bases. You know, they were different kind of hitters. You know, you can't have everybody swinging for the fences. I mean, during the regular season, you'll win a lot of games, but you know, you get in the playoffs, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, because you face the cream of the crop as far as pitching. You know, I mean, the regular season, when you look at it totality, the stats are great, but you're facing a lot of, you know, subpar pitching. And then the postseason, like you come around, you're going to face the, you know, teams that have an ace and a good number 2 and a solid number 3, and it's a whole different animal.
Yeah, like, you know, one of the things the Yankees are great at, you know, they do make the other team work. They get quality at bats.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can get that starter out of the game, and then, you know, they'll bring in a reliever, or some teams have weak bullpens. But, you know, you get against a really good team with a strong bullpen, and, you know, you're facing somebody as good, if not better than the starter when you get into the bullpen. So, you know, the weaker teams, you get away with that. But, you know, the great teams, even if they're great for only a year or two, they're the ones, you know, they had trouble against.
Yeah, and with the Paxton going down, with that forearm strain, I mean, he could be done or at least gone for the rest of the season. I mean, it's a possibility. And if Happ doesn't pitch well, you could see Brian Cashman make a move. So we could see a trade involving, you know, maybe someone like Andujar going or Frazier. So I'm kind of curious to see what kind of move Cashman makes and if it's a big splash or just, you know, a rental for the rest of the season.
Yeah, because I know one of the things like Happ was talking about, you know, these guys are used to starting every 4th or 5th day.
Yeah.
And with all the, you know, delays they've had this season, it's, you know, sometimes they don't pitch for 10 days.
Yeah. I mean, and Happ so far this year, he's 1-1, but he's given up 9 runs in 12 innings. And he's also, you know, he's been victim of the home run ball again this year. So it'd be nice to see him have a good outing against the Mets this weekend, but I'm not getting my hopes up for it. I do have high expectations for Montgomery. Hopefully he can step up in Paxton's absence.
Yeah, and, you know, like Happ and Paxton, I mean, Paxton will be sailing along, and Happ sometimes the same way. And then all of a sudden, they just blow up.
Yeah, they implode that one inning. Yeah. You know, and Tanaka, you know, he'll have, you know, a really good outing followed by a decent outing and then a bad outing. You know, that's always been Tanaka, but he's always been a big game pitcher, and it's just still bothering me. He was just cruising yesterday. I can't believe I'm still pissed that Boone took him out. Yeah,
well, it's just unfortunately that's the way the game is played now, and you know, nobody wants to go away from it.
Yeah.
Because if they do, they won't have a job. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, the Yankees got 5 games in 3 days versus the Mets, and then they face Tampa Bay for another 3 games. So I mean, it'd be nice to get through this weekend series with the Mets and then try to claw our way back into first place against the Rays, but we need to score runs.
Yeah, they better get at least 3 out of 5 against the Mets.
Yeah. It's just, I just can't believe the injuries. I mean, LeMahieu, Stanton, Torres, Judge, it's just unbelievable. And then, the guys in the lineup like Hicks and Sanchez, they can't hit. They can't hit. It's just very frustrating right now as a Yankee fan.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the averages now, it looks like 1968 again.
I mean, and Voit, I think Boone's been batting him second when Judge isn't in the lineup. And, he's the only one, though, that really – he was the one that scored, he hit a home run in the first game against the Braves. I think he was responsible for the Yankees' only hit and run in that first game. The Yankees were getting no hit by the Braves rookie who was making his Major League debut in the first game. The Yankees didn't have a hit until the 6th inning when Voit hit that home run.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I knew they only had one hit. I didn't realize they went so late in the game before they got hit.
Yeah, they were being no hit by a rookie making his Major League debut. I guess he's the Braves' #1 pitching prospect.
Well, he looked great yesterday. Wasn't there a guy for the White Sox? He pitched a no-hitter this week.
Yeah. Wasn't he part of some trade for Washington? I think the Nationals traded him for Adam Eaton. And he was a highly touted prospect, I think, coming out of high school.
Yeah, I really don't know a lot of the details, but it's always something special when you see somebody pitching hitters. So at least there's a little excitement in the sports world.
Yeah, he was a member on his high school team with 2 of the Atlanta Braves starting pitchers.
Okay.
One of them is Friedman, and I think the other one was the rookie making his Major League debut yesterday. But that's pretty cool that this high school team at one point had 3 future Major League pitchers on their team. That's pretty rare.
That's pretty special. You don't see that too often.
Well, I guess heading into this weekend, I'm assuming we'll find out whether or not Judge is on the IL again. But I know LeMahieu should be back real soon, probably sometime next week. Sometime. I mean, he's hitting, so if he's hitting, that means the thumb should be pretty good. But it's Torres, Stanton, and Judge you got to worry about with the leg injuries because those could take a while.
Yeah, you don't know if what point they'll be back this season, or it just could be a lingering thing. That's does it ever really get better?
Yeah, and I don't even know when the trade deadline is up. So, do you happen to know offhand?
I think it's the 30th. The 30th or the 31st. Now, they might have changed it because with everything going on, from one day to the next, you don't know what's happening. But I believe it's the 30th or the 31st.
If that's the case, then we could have some news the next time we talk because Brian Cashin is not one to sit on his ass. He usually makes a move if he has to.
No, I mean, when you have Cole in the team and you can win the series every year. I mean, right now, the playoffs are wide open. All you have to do is get in, and your chances are as good as anybody. If you got quality pitching, well, then you got a leg up on the competition. Yeah,
because right now, I mean, they got Tyler Wade playing shortstop. I like Tyler Wade. I mean, he's speedy. He could play almost every position. The only problem is he can't hit. And I thought he was a guy I was high on a few years ago. I thought he'd be like a super utility player, and he is in a way, but he struggles at the plate.
Yeah, and it's hard to, when you have a bunch of guys struggling at the plate and, it makes everybody maybe press a little bit harder, and then they just get worse instead of getting better.
Yeah, and the one guy I've been impressed with is Eric Kratz, the backup catcher. He's actually played pretty well when they give him the opportunity to play.
Well, he's a baseball lifer. I mean, that's a guy. That's a guy. I think he'll be a manager someday. I mean, when I watched him in spring training this year, like working, catching when all the minor leaguers come up at bat, the respect he got and the questions they were asking, and the pitchers, were asking, just to have a guy like that who's got so much experience, and then you have him in like AAA, and he comes up once in a while to majors. I mean, there's a lot of baseball you can learn from him. I think someday he'll be be a manager or a coach somewhere in the big leagues.
Oh yeah, I mean, because the Yankees, they even went out and signed, what was his name, Ionetta, this past off season, and they wind up letting him go, and Kratz is their backup.
Yeah, and they signed a guy, I think, from the Giants the other day. They got another catcher.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they sent him to, like to Scranton, or as they call it now, an alternative site.
Yeah.
I wish they'd send me to an alternative site. It might be better than this one.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the matchups. I see, like I said, Happ is supposed to pitch the game one tomorrow, but the Mets haven't posted who they're going to be pitching in the series yet. So that's interesting. But as of right now, the Yankees don't have a guy for Game 2 tomorrow or Game 2 on Sunday. So it could be Clark Schmidt or maybe a Davy Garcia.
Well, I think you'll see Schmidt. I think we'll see Schmidt this weekend.
Yes, so do I. Well, hopefully when we talk next week, Jack, things are a little bit brighter on the Yankee front. I mean, it's been painful to watch the last 5 games. Which
they're not playing good. Yeah, they're not playing good ball at all. And when you don't play that often, and hopefully next week's show will be a little better, Robert. I don't think it could be any worse.
No, the last time they played, I think, was August 20th, prior to yesterday. Yeah, it was August 20th, and then they were off for 6 days until they played the Braves.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't won a game in like 12 days. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be interesting. It'd be nice if someone stepped up in some of the absences of their key players, but the lineup doesn't give me much hope.
Well, we'll see what happens this weekend. They better step up.
Yeah, because I think they only were hitting in the last 5 games. I think they're hitting around 180 as a team, which isn't going to flip a lot of runs.
No, you're not going to win many games that way.
Yeah. Same time next week, Jack?
Okay, Robert. Looking forward to it. Hope they can win a few games.
Yeah, the big weekend, 5 games in 3 days. That's a first. I've never seen that before.
No, I haven't seen that since late 60s. So
wow.
It'll be interesting.
Okay, Jack. Until then, take care, my buddy.
Take care, Robert. Good to talk to you.
Always.
The proceeding has been a comfortably zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.